Hello, fellow preppers. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Hopefully I'm not chopping my head off like I did in those other videos. That was kind of funny. Okay, today's topic. Prepping and politics. Politics and prepping. I was watching, I guess, Southern Prepper David's video yesterday when he was talking about politics. You know, most of you guys know him. He's out there showing his place, I believe, in the Carolinas somewhere, and he's, you know, him and was an engineer 775. They're showing you how to do this and that around the ranch and your preps and everything. Really good channel if you haven't visited it. But yesterday I watched this video where he was talking about, you know, how this country's just basically heading in the wrong direction, and you know that if you're not willing to, you know, lay your blood down for freedom and liberty, then, you know, you just gotta question, you know, what are you all about? I mean, do you really deserve it if you're not willing to fight and die for it? And somebody commented that he should start another channel if he wants to get political. You know, don't, because a lot of prepper channels have crashed and burned because they talked about politics. Well, you see, I have to totally disagree with that person's opinion, and this is my opinion, and you can totally disagree with it if you want. But that's one of the problems, is that, you know, we the people don't get involved in politics. I mean, think of the forefathers. They were meeting in rooms in the town meetings, and they were going back and forth. These people were involved in politics. They were engaged in politics. You know, they were part of the solution. But, you know, nowadays people, oh, I don't want to get involved in politics. You know, you turn your back on it. Well, look what that's done to us. You know, I think if we the people had stayed involved, you know, through the 200 and some odd years, you know, of America, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in today. Think about it for a second. Ponder that thought. Contemplate it. I mean, am I supposed to rely on my neighbor to keep an eye on the government? What if they're relying on me? Oh, I thought you were doing it. Well, I thought you were doing it. And then we get the mess we're in. See, people, fellow preppers, my fellow Americans, I'm saying this all the time. It's simple. It really is. Fortunately, they didn't recall the governor. It got, you know, it's in Illinois. You know, the unions were upset with the decision that, you know, they're getting their power taken away. Well, it's obvious that we the people like that. And so maybe there'll be a snowball effect, because the unions are nothing more than a gang. Now, maybe some of you watching belong to unions, and see, when you use language and I say things like that, of course there's always exceptions, but the reality is that the unions, just like the government and just like gangs, mafia, and organized crime, they all use the same thing: force, coercion, to get what they want. Because if you just can't negotiate with somebody civilly, then it turns to guns. Force. You know, if you're arguing with somebody and you don't like it, you know, you punch them. I mean, that's just the nature of man. It's inside of us. That's in our DNA. You know, we're warriors, fighters. Which gets back to the point. If you're not willing to fight for your freedom, you don't deserve it. It's that simple. Can't leave it up to me. I can't leave it up to my neighbor. He can't leave it up to the neighbor on the other side. Each one of us, it's up to us. So it's more than, well, if you don't vote, you're part of the problem. If you don't get involved, you're part of the problem. I mean, they have public meetings in your towns. They have public meeting laws. You should learn these laws. You know, most people, I'm too busy, this, that, and the other. Well, if you're too busy to protect your freedom, you don't deserve it. I mean, if anybody knows my history, knows I've gotten involved in certain things. Anytime I feel my rights, my constitutional rights being trampled on, I go to those hearings. I get up in front. I speak to these people. I let them know how I feel, because they're up there actually to serve me and the rest of we the people. We're not here to serve them, but somehow that got turned upside down, and we need to turn it back the way it belongs. So my point is that Southern Prepper 1, you keep it up. Good job, and I'd be happy to fight right beside you if it ever comes to it. You know, for the other guys that don't think we should talk about politics, I really strongly believe that you're missing the point. Politics and prepping, they go hand in hand in glove. How can you prepare and not want to be involved? You just say, okay, well, you know what? It's going to happen anyway, so I'll just prepare. No. You should try to prevent stuff from hitting the fan. Wouldn't it be better if stuff never hit the fan? I mean, think about it. You don't have to think about it. You already know the answer. Some people, well, what can I do? Well, that's for you to figure out. I mean, all I can say is you get involved in some way, shape, or form. If it's nothing more than just sitting there, watching, listening, and educating. So that way, if you go to a public meeting and then you go watch it on the news and you hear the way it's spun, or you read up the article in the newspaper and you see how it's spun, you can tell those around you, that's not what went down. That's not the way I saw it. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. You know, these sound bites, they took that out of context. What they're really going to do is this. Be involved. Be engaged. You know, be educated. Be informed. Just don't sit back and say, no, well, let's not discuss politics. No, it just can't do that. I mean, and it starts wherever you are, you know. And the other thing is, you know, a lot of these preppers, you know, in militia groups where they talk about locking and loading and everything, but the reality is we just be fighting amongst ourselves. Unless we're cutting off the head, we're just fighting amongst ourselves. So, I mean, if you're going to fire a shot, make sure it goes where it needs to go. Because, you know, the police, they're following orders. So it's not really, you know, yes, there might be some bad cops, but the thing is, they're following orders. So fighting the police ain't the answer. It's the people giving those police those orders, the lawmakers. They're the ones, that's who we need to fight against, whether it's at the ballot or with bullets. Bullets or ballots. I mean, that's what it's going to get down to. And right now we're using ballots. How's that working for us, if you think about it? Now, I'm not advocating, you know, going out there and starting a revolution per se, but what I'm saying is that each one of us has to put that line in the sand, and when that line's crossed, that's what the Second Amendment's for. I mean, you know, Obama through his executive orders and Congress through their resolutions they're stripping away our First Amendment rights. Freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom to redress government. They're trying to take away our Second Amendment rights, you know, the right to bear arms. I mean, it wasn't written in the Constitution the right to bear arms means you can only have this kind of weapon. There was no limitations because the forefathers didn't want the government to have stronger weapons than we the people. Somehow that got lost. Well, you know, nobody should be walking around with machine guns. Well, guess what? In some countries, every home has an automatic weapon. Think about that. So where's your freedom? What happened to your freedom to bear arms? I mean, illegal search and seizure? Gone. Under this, you know, what is it, the Domestic Terrorism Act or whatever they, you know, some spin they call it, where they can come and lock you or me up indefinitely for no reason without charging us. In America. No, this isn't 1940 what? Nazi Germany. This is 2012 United States of America, where you can be held indefinitely and not being charged for a crime because you're a suspected terrorist. I mean, Orwell, 1984, it's all in that book. I think he might have got the year wrong. Maybe it should have been 2014. I don't know. Maybe it should have been 2004, because things have been rapidly going downhill, just like Southern Prepper said. So I'm going to put this as a video response to what he had to say. And once again, I salute you, Southern Prepper One. I'd be right there beside you. But, you know, each one of you fellow preppers has to make up your own mind. You know, I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the subscriptions. You know, some people think I have wisdom. They like my common sense approach. But, you know, they like the idea that I'm preparing. And, you know, some people want to see me go back to do some more trading videos. And some people want to, you know, want me to get in there and show them how to do this and how to do that. But, you know, I will. I promise I will. But right now, it's just things are right there on the edge. And I'm taking action for myself because I don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that time could be any day. I mean, things are just that precarious. What the, you know, we talked about the what's going on in Europe. I mean, if Greece falls and Spain falls and France, we don't know what could happen. There could be a disruption in the marketplace where the grocery stores might not get food on time. So if you don't have food, you won't have any food. Maybe there could be a collapse of the banking system. You know, America is not too big to fail. Think about that. In fact, I'll probably do a separate video on that in the near future. So, okay, I think this is probably getting into the long-winded times. I don't have a timer on this, but remember, if you fail to prepare today, you are preparing to fail tomorrow.